You've got herbs in your kitchen, right? But are you really getting everything you can out of them? Well, today we're diving into two super old school ways to make powerful herbal tea, all thanks to the wisdom of herbalist Walt. Let's jump right in.
So the big question is, how do you unlock the full power of those plants sitting in your cupboard? You might think it's some complicated secret process, but it's actually way simpler than you'd imagine. These methods have been around forever. They're totally straightforward, and trust me, anyone can master them.
Okay, so it really boils down to just two main techniques: infusions and decoctions. Think of it like this. Infusions are the gentle method, perfect for the delicate stuff like leaves and flowers. Then you've got decoctions, the tough method, for the really hard parts like roots and bark. And honestly, understanding that one simple difference, that's the key to everything.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to master the gentle art of infusions. Then, we'll tackle the powerful technique of decoctions. We're even going to get a little mystical and explore ways to make tea using the sun and the moon. No stove required. And we'll wrap it all up with some pro tips to make your brew absolutely perfect.
All right, let's kick things off with infusions. This is what I call the gentle method. It's all about carefully coaxing all that goodness out of the most fragile parts of a plant. We're talking flowers, leaves, without totally wrecking their delicate chemistry. So what is an infusion, really? At its heart, it's just a tea made by steeping plants in water. But here's the crucial part. You never boil the herbs directly. Why? Because that protects all those delicate, valuable compounds from getting obliterated by intense heat. Okay, so what kind of herbs are we talking about here? Think about those really aromatic ones like peppermint, nettle leaves, or chamomile flowers. You know that amazing smell they have? That comes from something called volatile oils. And a gentle infusion is designed to preserve exactly that.
And the process? Seriously, it could not be easier. You just pop your herbs in a jar, pour hot water over them, and notice I said hot, not boiling. A little tip, bring your water to a boil, then kill the heat and let the bubbles stop before you pour. Then you just cover it up, let it do its thing, and strain. That's literally it.
Now, here's a super important detail: the timing. You have to forget everything you know about those 3-minute commercial tea bags. For a real medicinal infusion, you're looking at a minimum of 30 minutes. And hey, if you want to go for maximum potency, you can even let that thing steep all night long. And listen, do not underestimate the power of a proper infusion. Walt tells this hilarious story about running out of nettle tea. It's a really popular herb for women's hormonal health. Apparently, a customer came in and told him that if he didn't get it back in stock, like immediately, the local women were going to make national news. It's just a funny reminder of how seriously effective these simple remedies can be. Okay, so we've covered the gentle stuff. Now it's time to get tough. Let's talk about decoctions. This is how you pull out all that hidden power from the really hardy parts of a plant.
So what's a decoction? It's a tea where you're actually simmering the herbs right there in the water. You need that direct, sustained heat. It's like a battering ram that breaks down the tough cellular walls of things like roots and bark, forcing them to release all their good stuff. So what kind of stuff needs this tough love method? We're talking about things like dandelion root, the bark from a padiarco tree, those hard little hawthorn berries, even seeds. Basically, if it's dense and woody, it needs a decoction.
And again, the method is super straightforward. Just combine your herbs and water in a pot. Bring it to a boil, and then, this is important, immediately knock the heat down to a gentle simmer. You'll want to keep the lid on so you don't lose all your water, and when it's done, you just strain it.
So how long do you let it simmer? The magic number is about 20 minutes. That's the sweet spot. Just enough time for the heat to work its magic and break everything down, but not so long that you overdo it.
Okay, here is a fantastic pro tip for you. Always cut or chop up your roots and barks into smaller pieces before you even start. Why? It's just simple science, really. You're creating more surface area, and that lets the water pull out way more of the good stuff from the plant. More surface area equals a much more potent tea. Easy, right? Okay, but what if you want to make tea and you don't have a stove? Or maybe you just want to try something different? Well, let's explore two really beautiful and totally practical ways to do this: sun tea and moon tea. I'm sure you've heard of sun tea, right? You let it sit out all day and the sun's heat basically does the work of a hot infusion for you. Well, its counterpart is moon tea. This is a cold infusion that uses the cool night air and a whole lot of time and patience to gently pull out the herb's properties. Making moon tea is ridiculously easy.
You just add your herbs to a jar of cold water, put the lid on, and leave it somewhere cold overnight. But, and this is a really important warning, if you're doing this outside in the winter, be super careful it doesn't freeze solid. Water expands when it freezes, and it will shatter that glass jar. Trust me on that one.
All right, so now you've got the basics of infusions and decoctions down. Let's level up your game with some pro tips. We'll talk about how to combine methods, how to store your tea, and how to get the absolute most out of every single brew.
So what happens when you want to make a tea that has, say, a tough root and a delicate leaf? It's actually super easy. You just do it in 2 stages. Take dandelion root and corn silk tea, for example. First, you'd make your decoction. Simmer that dandelion root for 20 minutes. Then you just turn off the heat, toss in the delicate corn silk, and let that infuse for another 30 minutes. See? 1 pot, 2 methods. Pretty clever.
Okay, how long does this stuff last? A good rule of thumb is about 3 days in the fridge. After that, it starts to lose its punch, so your best bet is always to make smaller, fresh batches more often.
All right, let's wrap up with a few rapid-fire tips. Want some natural sweetness? Throw in some stevia leaves while it's steeping. Want to save a little cash? You can reuse your infusion herbs for a second, weaker tea. And for long-term storage, just freeze your tea in bags. Then all you have to do is thaw it, warm it up, and you're good to go.
So when you boil it all down, what does this mean? It means that making really effective herbal remedies isn't some secret mystical art form. It doesn't matter if you're using a gentle infusion or a tough decoction, the methods are simple, they're powerful, and they work. This knowledge puts the power of herbal wellness right back in your hands, where it belongs.
And that brings us to our final question for you. Now that you know the difference, when to use a gentle infusion for something like chamomile versus a tough decoction for dandelion root, what's the first simple remedy you're going to try?